you have any feelings as far as like the whole announcement with James Gunn? And even though we don't know exactly what he's going to do, we've been having little hints of his directions. Well, we know what he don't want to do. We know what he's shutting down and not continuing on with. What do you think of that?
Well, from all I've picked up is like the Snyder versus Dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's not a huge loss. Like, because like what, Blue Beetle's gonna come out,
Yeah.
Aquaman 2 is gonna come out. There's like four
Yeah.
movies. Flash is gonna come out, and then a
Hmm.
fourth one I forget what it is, because they're all so far in production, post production, that it's just like we're not gonna leave that money on the table.
Yeah. You talk about the new
After
Shazam.
that,
New Shazam comes out. Are you including that one?
yeah, I think so. Um, I think those were like the four, and then they're gonna just start over. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
And so it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, it'd be nice if we could have kept like I thought Gal Gadot did fine as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Like the second Wonder Woman movie was not her
Mm.
fault.
Right.
Honestly, like Henry Cavill as Superman was fine. Again, like when he got to be the shiny, bright Superman, it was like, oh yeah, there it is, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought Jason Momoa as Aquaman was refreshing.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck,
Yeah.
but then just sort of the whole tone of the rest of the Snyder stuff, don't care.
Yeah.
And oddly, like the James Gunn, I still gotta watch his Suicide Squad, the second Suicide Squad.
You haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Ooh.
I need to see it. It looks like a blast.
Yeah, it is.
But like, it's a different thing between. It's gonna be very interesting to see how James Gunn essentially does world building and continuity and tone setting, right? Because he's the Kevin Feige now, right? And I think he has a partner that he's working with.
He's a
but
writer.
It'll just be interesting to see sort of how they approach things, what's their tone, what's their themes that they're going to play with in there, whatever their phase one is going to be, and how they're going to roll that phase out. But I haven't seen anything as to his statements of what he's adding in as opposed to things that he's removing. So
what do you think of the idea, because it's been kind of mentioned where like there's this thing that they were kind of throwing out there, like Jason Momoa coming back as like Lobo.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Like would you mind characters that was just
not at all?
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
Like because like you're talking about like, you know, shit, fuck. Henry Cavill has been Superman, The Witcher, and Sherlock Holmes and Enola Holmes, and it's like, yep, he's that character right now. That's all that matters. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. They're this person now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it really comes down to, can the actor differentiate themselves between roles to make them this character now, as opposed to the one they were playing 20 minutes ago. If they could do that, boom, I don't care. Good. Sold.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I think all the actors were good for the most part. I had no issue with them. I think it was just the tone of Zack Snyder. And I like him for certain things, and other things I just think that he, you know, his interpretation doesn't match up with what the expectation is. And you kind of got to be careful. And James Gunn might be the same thing. We'll see.
Yeah, he might.
He plays well when he got restraints. So if Disney's on his butt and he go in a certain direction, you get stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is kind of edgy, but kind of, you know, the edges are kind of shaved down, so it won't be too...
Oh, they are shaved down a lot,
you know what I mean?
Considering his old stuff.
Exactly. So now he has nobody to shave off his angles with DC if they just let him do what he wants. And DC normally kind of, Warner Brothers kind of lets you do what you're going to do. So it's going to be interesting to see, because he's going to be less like Guardians of the Galaxy, because really the way his taste is and style and sense of humor, and I'm not saying he's the same kind of director necessarily, but it's almost how people would perceive Quentin Tarantino, right? He's very successful, has a strong style and narrative, right? And he's good when he's doing his own thing. But as many people that like his work, a lot of people are off put by his work. So you kind of mix up his success and how popular he is with, the tone and what people really, the majority of people think of him.
Right.
And so he makes smaller movies so he can kind of get away with doing the way he moves. But could you imagine him doing what he wants to do on a large scale with some IP that's known? No, that would be a hot mess. As good as the director Quentin Tarantino is, I would not let him loose on no IP that's beloved by a lot of people, because it wouldn't be, I don't think he would make something that would be for everybody. And that's okay.
Well,
and I don't mind it, but it would be a problem when it's something that got to be for everybody or the majority.
Well, and the other thing that I'm curious to see is like, this is sort of like, in other fields of promoted to incompetence of Quentin Tarantino, James Gunn, good directors at the things that they do, but now essentially James Gunn is going to have to be Kevin Feige, and that's like a studio head essentially, and that's a somewhat different skill set than crafting one story, but being able to craft an environment for multiple stories. I think one thing that's going to be interesting to see whether or not it translates out to James Gunn's DC universe is, I think in part because Marvel has established that, we've expanded what can be expected out of a comic book movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phase 1, Phase 2 was very sort of like, it wasn't stretching the bounds of imagination. But then we got Taika Waititi's Thor, we got Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, like it expanded the scope of like what audience could be like, yeah, we're on board for this. Okay, we're doing this weird stuff. And I think, even though I haven't seen it, Suicide Squad's 2 that James Gunn did, it's got fucking Starro as the villain.
And he pulls
and it's
it
got
off
a
too.
whole host of like wackadoodle, the Suicide Squad itself. But just the fact that the villain is Starro, which is the most bright, vibrant color, sort of comic book zany bad guy.
He made it happen.
I mean, there's crazier, but like I haven't seen it, but I feel like he brought that in and did just enough grounding with it, but also didn't. And I think, again, I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing there's a level of the characters in the film being like, what the fuck? Like, just like, can we acknowledge that's a giant fucking starfish that's like taking over the world? Like,
exactly.
And Polka Dot Man. So
and the weasel.
Think, right. And so like, I think if he can, because he's not going to necessarily be writing these, he's not going to be necessarily directing these. And so absent sort of the comical response to the zaniness, I think he's just more comfortable leaning into the zany concepts and characters and settings and just being like, all right, we're going to again file off the edges a little bit, right? But DC is, I would say, even more wackadoodle than the Marvel universe.
Yes.
And so just being able to like accept that and work with that and lean into it. Cause like,
because the same magic he did to make it believable that you had a talking raccoon in a tree named Groot, he brought in that big old starfish. So the same way he did that, he actually did the same thing with this. So that just goes to show you he could kind of work miracles, or he works the world out in a way where those things could happen and it's believable.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those things where it's like he might come with as many drawbacks as Snyder, but I'm more hopeful for James Gunn than I was with Snyder at the start. So
agreed.
We'll have to see how that goes.
Agreed. Yeah. Hey, we're going to stop this conversation here, but we're going to hit you back with another one soon.